Well, when we try to assess the relevance of the NGI initiative in relation to so many of the policy strands that we're working on, we have to go back to its roots, that the NGI team, the NGI community is an open source community, but it's an open community of innovators who bring a strong knowledge of different types of technologies in a way that adds to quite a mass of knowledge where there is more than commercial self-interest involved. And so when we work on some critical technologies like open source itself, but then with regard to digital identities and so on, we have a knowledgeable community that are pointing the way for a public policy approach, a public good approach to some of these key internet technologies. So what we found is that individuals have often been at the forefront of starting a technological trend, but it's the community that actually provides a way of framing that, providing guardrails, particularly for technologies that might break the rules, as it were, which require new rules on data protection with regard to even the way that they operate, and increasingly issues like even environmental friendliness. So what the NGI approach brings is a clear knowledge, a community effect, and it is a way of showing policymakers what the community thinks is the best way of going when we look at the development of the internet. And that's very important so that from a European perspective, as we look to Europe's digital sovereignty, to our role in the internet world, that we have this guidance from that community, which we know we can trust because it's not self-interested, it's not primarily motivated by commercial interests, and of course it comes from the real experts. When we look at how we unlock the power of the digital commons, it's great in the context of the policy initiatives that we have felt it necessary to put in place, some of which are portrayed as limiting the internet, at regulating, or perhaps in some people's view, over-regulating the internet. But of course, the desire behind that regulation is to protect the individual, it's to protect society, to make sure that rights are respected with regard to protection of the individual, putting the individual at the center of the internet. So what we do have in the digital commons is a pooling of resources, a pooling of open source approaches, which provide a toolbox and a reference for policymakers, but also for those who are actually working on these technologies to advance in a way that will allow us to meet our requirements with regard to human-centric internet, protecting the individual, protecting data, and so on. So the digital commons will provide a huge resource, which is by definition trustworthy because it comes from a community. It's already verified. It has already had peer approval. And that is why it is so different to some of the proprietary products that we see, which of course have a very important role, have also played a key role in developing the internet. But the open source approach, the commons approach, means that we are in a space where the individual is at the center, where the community has a say in how this critical technology, this critical service, which is the internet, is designed and operated. Well, first of all, we're very grateful to the members of that community, which is the NGI community, for their commitment and for their involvement. But secondly, it is that as we see more and more problems, shall we say, associated with the internet, their role, your role, is actually critical in serving as a counterbalance and in providing a means by which we can gain and regain the trust of the individual in the internet.